Good morning and welcome to our May Worksite Wellness Lunch and Learn. I'm Carol Battle and I manage the Worksite Wellness Program within the Office of State Human Resources. We are pleased to welcome each of you today. I know many of you just completed our Spring Miles for Wellness Challenge and are already in the practice of moving more on a daily basis than you did before the challenge. The purpose of our Miles for Wellness program is just that. The goal is to encourage state employees to focus on movement and the positive impact any type of movement or exercise has on your health. Our next Miles for Wellness challenge is scheduled for the fall and registration will begin in late August. So be sure to consider signing up for this free and fun challenge designed just for you. In the meantime, there are plenty of other ways to motivate yourself to continue making physical activity an integral and enjoyable part of your day-to-day lifestyle. Today's program aims to help reshape our perspective on exercise while offering ways to make daily movement fun when you start to feel discouraged or bored. Our speaker, Katie Godin from Lifestyle Medical Centers, will end by demonstrating how to make a great post-workout smoothie. Katie's a registered dietitian who's been practicing for 17 years. She focuses on helping individuals improve their knowledge and relationship with food and to meet their personal health goals. Lifestyle Medical Centers is an in-network nutrition counseling service. So for those of you enrolled in the state health plan, both virtual and in-person visits are covered at 100% for in-network providers. The state health plan also has other dietitians across the state. So to find one near you, log on to your state health plan portal, which is listed on this cover slide. As a reminder, everyone who registered for this event will receive a recording of today's presentation, as well as the recipes. To find past Lunch and Learn recordings that are very useful, and to see our session topics for the rest of 2025, visit our website at oshr.nc.gov/wellness-webinars. During the presentation, you can submit questions through the question and answer, and members of our NC Flex team will help answer them. Additionally, Katie saved a few minutes at the end of our presentation to conquer any questions that we're unable to get to in the Q&A. And now it's time to welcome Katie and let's lunch and learn.
Thank you, Carol. Hey, everybody. Happy May. I'm excited to talk more about movement today and specifically focusing on some variety and creativity to movement and really just how to push through some of those barriers that I know we all struggle with, no matter if you're someone who really enjoys exercise or if you're someone who's new to it. I think that we all get into those slumps. So we're going to talk about all things movement here. As Carol mentioned, with the state health plan, Lifestyle is in network. If you guys have been attending these lunch and learns for a few months or for longer, and you guys have not checked us out, our website is down there at the bottom right. Just click on it, browse through, see if it's of any interest to you. Some of the services we offered are listed here, but really it's really what you want out of the program. We have lots of things that we're adding on to the program always. And so, yeah, check us out and see if there's anything interesting that you can find and we can help you with if you have any questions. Okay. All right, let's just kind of go through some of these key discussion points here that we're going to, talk through today, and hopefully you'll understand a little bit more after the presentation. But one, just really understanding the various types of exercises and just their overall benefits. I think it's good to start with basics. So we'll kind of go through the basics first, and then we'll talk through some barriers. What are some barriers that may be preventing you from exercising? And more importantly, how can we work through them? And, kind of the fun aspect of today's workout is getting ideas on how to make exercise more creative and fun and essentially simple, ones that you can kind of do anywhere. I think that that's really an important aspect to exercise, is making sure that it's something that really you can kind of do anywhere. All right. Guys, I wanted to just go ahead and throw this out at the very beginning of the presentation, because you guys know that I'm kind of the girl that's always talking about food. And today we're really focused primarily on exercise. But as you guys know, I am not a certified exercise physiologist. And the information in this presentation today is based on just personal experience, research, and general fitness knowledge. So it's intended for informational purposes. So, as I mentioned with lots of things, if this is something new to you, exercise is new to you, or any new fitness program, you're just kind of, wanting to make sure you're doing things correctly, appropriately, please consult with a qualified healthcare provider or certified exercise specialist, especially if you have any underlying health conditions or concerns. That's really important. Also, kind of fun to note, at Lifestyle, we have added on an exercise physiologist. So with a couple new programs that we've got on board, we have an exercise physiologist that will be able to assist with the development of a personalized exercise plan. So definitely reach out, like I said, to our website, and there's a little contact us button, and you can call our office or reach out that way, and we'll contact you, and you can learn more about that. Okay. All right, well, let's get right into it. I'm going to move this screen over here. Okay. So let's talk about just the typical categories of physical activity. Maybe not new information here, but again, I told you we were going to do some basic info to get started. So we have 3 different types of physical activity. We have aerobic, or cardiovascular, or for short cardio, as maybe you typically call it. Then you've got your strength or your resistance training. And then you've got balance and flexibility. And really, it's about having all of these intermixed into your lifestyle for just utmost benefits of physical activity. Speaking of benefits, so when we think of aerobic, you guys are probably familiar with some of the benefits that I've listed out here, but of course, we know that it is cardiovascular health, where it strengthens our heart, it helps lower blood pressure, can even help if we have insulin resistance or someone has diabetes. It helps to increase insulin sensitivity, meaning just using that hormone insulin more appropriately, effectively, to help with blood sugar control. It helps to increase our metabolism. It can even help with our total cholesterol, or our HDL, which is that good cholesterol. Not a lot of things can raise good cholesterol. Exercise is definitely one of them. We have better lung capacity. We have improvements in stress, sleep. I mean, literally, there's a laundry list of benefits. I just chose to highlight some of the main ones here. So when it comes to how much, physical activity should we be getting when we're thinking of aerobic or cardio? Well, we like for people to aim for 150 minutes of aerobic exercise every week. And again, you can work up to this. I kind of always emphasize the fact that we can start as small as we need to, we can work our way up. It's better to do it that way than to feel like you need to run out of the gates here, doing way too much. That's how we get injured. That's how we get to burnout. So we don't want that for people. So we really do at Lifestyle try to make your goals realistic when it comes to physical activity. But I think it's good that you know what to strive for here. Okay. All right. When it comes to muscle strengthening or that resistance training part of your activity regimen, the resistance exercises that you're doing, which, you can use free weights or your own body weight, bands. There's lots of different ways to have this movement in your regimen. But resistance exercise can improve your strength. It can help with bone density just by when we increase our lean muscle mass, we're putting positive stress on our bones, which helps them to be more dense. And that's why bone density is something that is a result of doing the strength training side of things. When we have more metabolically active tissue or muscle within our body, we have a more effective metabolism. So our metabolism can increase, and that is something that can be really important as we get older, and that typically tends to decline. So that's why we really emphasize having a strength training regimen in your routine, in your week, every week. And again, you can work up to it, but ideally you want to aim for at least 2 days of full body exercises each week. Or you can isolate out those muscle groups and do more. You can, some people prefer to do, arms and then lower body and core and kind of space it out. And some people prefer to do it all at the same time. Okay. And then we've got that balance and flexibility. This is such an important part of your exercise routine. And I think it's often neglected. We kind of really think about the top two, I feel like. And some people really do enjoy the mobility, the flexibility, doing yoga and stretching. But this is often kind of an afterthought, I feel like. And it's really an important part of your routine. So balance and flexibility can help improve your mobility, your range of motion. If you're really putting relevance behind the why, think about reduced risk of falls as we're getting older. This is something that's really important. Stress reduction and relaxation can be an important part of slowing movement down, which is something that you do with your balance and flexibility work. It can help with pain relief, just the way that it disperses blood flow throughout the body. That's one thing that's so wonderful and powerful about yoga. And improving things like posture. So lots of benefits there of having that balance and flexibility into your routine. Just as far as recommendations go, really, having a goal of cooling down for a little bit, a few minutes, 5 minutes or so at least after each exercise regimen that you're doing, whether it's cardio or strength, is ideal. And then even better if you can build in 2 to 3 days a week of some focused, balanced flexibility work. And that can look so many different ways. And I'm going to talk about how to kind of work through some of the barriers. This is one that I struggle with. So I just want to mention that really fast, just because, I know what to do. I mean, I'm that person also, you know what to do, but you're just not doing it. So this is a personal goal of mine always, is to be working on balance and flexibility. And sometimes for me, it's just finding little pockets of time. So, and making that time add up. And eventually it does lead to me having more kind of sessions of doing 15 to 20 minutes at a time. I desire it, but sometimes it's, for those of you that have kids or animals and you're outside with them, I'll just kind of lean against a tree and kind of work on stretching my quad, things like that, or touching your toes, just kind of when you're standing in line, just to kind of help stretch that lower back. It doesn't have to be this perfect situation. And I think that's what we are trying to help people understand, is that you can kind of think outside of the box as far as how you get some of this stuff in. All right. Again, basic info here. We'll get into some specifics in next few slides. But overall examples of aerobic exercise, probably all things you assumed would be, but cycling, running, walking, swimming, those high intensity interval training exercises that a lot of people might not realize that you have lots of flexibility with how you do those. Sometimes when we hear that word HIIT or high intensity, we think, oof, I am not qualified to do that. And so there's always ways of modifying workouts. So please remember that. Sports related activities, tennis, basketball, of course, lots of different sports that I could name there, but pick your favorite. Pickleball, right? Is anyone a pickleball player? That's super fun. And I love how versatile it is. Lots of different people and abilities can play. So find something fun. I think that that's really important. And it doesn't just have to be, people will come into my office and, they'll sit down and they'll say, well, I'll ask, of course, what do you do for physical activity? And they'll say, I guess I got to start running again, and they dip their head and their face droops. I'm like, no, 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 no. That is not what you're going to do, because clearly that is not something that excites you. Exercise doesn't have to make like bells and whistles go off in your head and you get super excited about it. But I do think we can find and try to achieve things that we do enjoy. So that's something that I want people to realize is an important part of exercise. Muscle strengthening. So this is where, a lot of times you might think, oh, I have to have weights, I have to have machines, I have to be at the gym. Not the case. Your own body is a fantastic resource. Use it. And so I have some examples here later on in the presentation, visuals, and then you guys are going to get some handouts also where you can kind of see how to use your own body weight for that muscle strengthening resistance training. Bands are very popular, just because those are, if you, have any physical limitations, that can be really helpful just because it's not as stressful as picking up a weight, and so lots of different resistance type bands that you can get out there. So, and like I said, your own body weight, that's the best in my opinion. Balance and flexibility, probably assume things like yoga and Pilates, Tai Chi, just some stretching. All of those, again, intermixed throughout your week is the general goal. Okay. Well, let's kind of get into, some of the barriers here. This is something that I want to brainstorm with people all of the time when I'm talking with them. I think that it's really important to understand why someone might struggle with exercise. And maybe you have, multiple reasons on this list. I tried to just kind of think through what I feel I hear a lot and what kind of is something, that I personally relate to as well. Lack of motivation, and there could be a lot of different reasons why we have lack of motivation. So I also want to talk through that. Sometimes I have people think through how they used to be so physically active 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, and they just know that they're not going to be able to get back to that immediately. And so their motivation kind of dips because it feels defeating. And so that's really understandable. I get that. And I think it's just kind of trying to start from a clean slate and understanding that, that's where maybe we could strive for. Maybe we can get back there, but where are we right now? Let's start there. And so that's, I think, a really important part of that scenario. Some people will get frustrated if they don't see results. And that is completely understandable. I mean, we do this physical activity and then all of a sudden we're not seeing any changes. Why keep doing it, right? So we're going to talk about how to work through that. Finding the time. Time is a huge barrier. Whether you work long days, whether you have kids with extracurricular activities, whether you're not a morning person and that's the only time you have, to kind of build in, but you don't like to wake up early. There's a lot of reasons why we might struggle with time. Maybe your routine has you burned out, right? And so we do the same thing over and over every single day. That is going to burn you out. You may be bored with it. So maybe it's getting, again, spending some creativity, understanding how to, add the variety in. And I think that's really important to work through. Maybe you don't know where to start. You're really new to exercise, or you just haven't done it in a while, and your brain just can't get wrapped around, hey, what do I do first? Physical barriers are certainly at play for people. There's always modifications and there's always something that you could possibly do. But again, I'm not an exercise physiologist and I'm not trying to work through anyone's physical barriers right now during this presentation. I just challenge you to have that conversation with a healthcare provider if physical barriers are at play. What are some of your options? Is it talking with an exercise physiologist from our team? Is it talking with a physical therapist? Is it talking with your doctor? These are conversations that I think you should have. And limited resources is definitely a barrier for people. Maybe you don't have access to a gym or good walking right outside of your house. So what can you do when it comes to that? All right, how do we get to the point where we can say, oh, okay, I can push through these barriers. I can actually do it. It's all about how we talk to ourselves. Sometimes I think we need to remember how we talk to our children. We sit here and we would never tell our children, hey, no, you actually can't do that. I don't believe that you can. No, no way, right? No. So we need to get better about talking to ourselves. So how do we push through these barriers? All right. So lack of motivation. One thing that I think really, really helps me, and I do believe that it can help other people, but you guys are your own person, and just because this is something that works for me, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So we try to understand where you're coming from and what helps you out, right? But I'm just giving you an example of what works for me. But finding an accountability partner. And that doesn't mean that it has to be someone that you actually are working out with, but even better if that's the case, right? So I know you guys were doing the Miles for Wellness program and kind of finding people to walk with, finding people to text, tracking. These are ways to kind of add in some of that motivation, having a challenge, right? So, and I think doing that with a partner, doing that with someone else is really helpful because then it becomes for me. Let me give you an example, of course. When it comes to me and getting physical activity in, I really enjoy classes, and not everyone does, but I do. And the reason why I do is because what motivates me is going and seeing those people that I'm going to see in that class. I don't want to work out, every week. There's weeks where I just don't want to do it at all. But I feel like I know I'm going to feel better if I do get it in. And hey, I don't get to see so and so, and they're so fun to talk to. And they always make me laugh and forget about what I'm doing, and I get through it, and I'm so thankful, blah, 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 right? So having that accountability partner could be so much fun for you and a way to push through that motivational barrier. What if you're not seeing results, right? Okay, this is frustrating. We might want to understand why you're not seeing results, and we can talk through that. That would be more of an in session kind of deep dive. Why? What are you doing? What can we change? Sometimes we have something called muscle memory when you're doing the same exercise over and over and over. Not only can you reach burnout with that, it gets boring, but you have something called muscle memory, and then all of a sudden your body is like, oh, so-and-so's getting on the treadmill and they're going to put it at this incline. And I know what I'm going to have to do. Get geared up, guys. We're not going to have to work as hard today. We know what's happening. Whereas if you're changing it up, switching it up, it keeps you mentally stimulated, but it also helps with the results factor too. But besides that part, I think focusing on what we call non-scale victories, or not even about the scale, it could just be more that, the visual side of things that we're really more concerned with, how we're looking. And I get that's important. But I'm also want people to understand there's a deeper relevance behind why we're exercising. So we're going to pull a lot of those out. We might keep a list of them running in our phone in the notes section. We might take a peek at it from time to time when we start to feel defeated with our efforts. Okay. Maybe you're having a hard time finding time, right? So the time barrier. Mix it up and add many bits of time throughout the day. This is something that has really helped people when they connect with this. Sometimes it's hard to connect with it in the beginning because your brain is wrapped around, oh, that doesn't count. If I go out and walk for 5 minutes, does that count? Yes, it definitely counts. I said 150 minutes of total exercise throughout your week. I didn't say you had to do a certain amount all in one time. I will say, because I know some of you are maybe thinking this, but when we're thinking about that cardiovascular aspect, that heart health, that really good, side of exercise that's powerful for our heart, it is helpful when we kind of get our heart rate elevated for a certain amount of time. Okay. So typically about 20 minutes. But listen, what are we going to do? Are we going to do nothing if we can't do 20 minutes? What's better, right? So I'd rather you start where you mentally can wrap your brain around it. So if you're finding it a hard time, you're finding time to be hard, then try to break it up into 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes instead of 30 minutes at a time. Maybe it's keeping a set of weights by your desk so that when you have that 5-minute break, because I guarantee even the busiest of busiest people might have 5 minutes of downtime at some point, I would hope, during their day. And I get sometimes that's not always the case. So it's looking outside of the work hours, but keeping things at your desk, taking that time, setting alarms, figuring that out. How am I going to get this 5 minutes in, maybe 1 to 2 times while I'm at work? All right, these are just quick examples, guys. Okay, we talk a lot more deeper in sessions, but just wanted to give you some ideas on how we work through stuff like that. Routine burnout. Okay, we need to mix it up. So one thing that I know when I was going to the gym, and doing like a gym where you've got, all your equipment and stuff, you know, got things like your treadmill and you've got your elliptical and you've got your bikes and stuff like that. Well, something that helped me mentally was doing more of circuit style, exercises. So maybe 10 minutes of the elliptical, 10 minutes of the treadmill, 10 minutes of the bike or the stair stepper. And that helps you mentally. It kind of keeps it fresh. And again, it also helps with that muscle memory. What about the knowledge gap side of things? Talk to someone about where to start. Have a conversation. Again, when it comes to true, like, I don't understand what to do, I want you to talk to a healthcare provider about that, or someone that's kind of can really help to guide you in that way. But if it's really just like, hey, I don't know what, the best place to go walking is around here, maybe that's a conversation you can have with a friend, right? So feel that part out. But you got to talk with someone about it if you don't know what to do. When it comes to physical barriers, we need to learn how to modify. And there's lots of different ways that you can learn modifications. But again, depending on those physical barriers, you should be talking with someone who is more of an expert in the area so they can guide you exactly to what your body needs. And then when it comes to limited resources, we have tons of free at-home resources that use your own body weight. So listen, guys, there's no excuses, right? I'm going to have an answer to all of these barriers. Trust me. All right. Okay, let's talk about the power of mixing it up. I've already kind of sprinkled that in, but preventing those physical plateaus, that's going to be really helpful when you think about mixing up exercise. That also can aid with your motivation, keeps it interesting. It engages different muscle groups, like I talked about, reduces your risk of injury. If you're just really kind of using the same muscles over and over and over and over, burning those out all of the time and not dispersing the strength and the cardio throughout your whole body, you definitely could have more risk of injury. And of course, making the fitness side more fun and something to look forward to. So how do we make exercise fun? Finding a friend is always going to be my top. Okay. When I see a friend and we're together and we're having conversation and we're motivating each other, there's just nothing better. Going with a walk with someone is connection. You're having connection. You're also having exercise. There is nothing better than that. So I think that that's really powerful. Try different environments. If you love to walk and you kind of get bored with your neighborhood, go find a fun lake to walk around on the weekend. Take your family. Try different settings. I think that that is really helpful. Maybe we're adding music or a podcast. And again, I'll tell people, that's something you'll start to look forward to is I'm really excited to just put on that podcast again and see what's happening or listen to it. It kind of takes your brain off of what you're doing. Maybe we're trying a fitness challenge like you guys have been doing. I think that really makes things fun, especially if you're competitive. I don't think people realize how competitive they are until they do something like a fitness challenge. I think it can be fun, friendly competition, right? And then, like I mentioned, I love classes. So, class environment, social interaction, try something new. If you don't think you're going to like it, I mean, you always need to try it before you kind of say that, but challenge yourself a little bit. I think that's something that we need to get better at is challenging our thoughts around, am I going to be good at the class? Am I going to be, these are things that are understandable, but I also want to challenge people to kind of work through some of those thoughts too. Adding creativity. I just love that picture, so I just had to put it in. Dance breaks, dance parties at home. We loved doing these a lot over the pandemic. I feel like we've not done them as much since then. We'll do it occasionally, but during the pandemic, we got like that is, as I'm speaking, glad we're not there anymore, guys. But that is definitely a time frame where we had to get creative with our movement, right? We had to get creative with lots of things. So adding that creativity, dance breaks, dance parties at home. You can buy these cute little mini strobe lights, which we have, and we would put them on and put on some fun music and start moving around. It's great for the kids. And so, and for you, it kind of just feels fun. Try walking meetings. I've talked with a lot of people lately, especially as the weather has gotten nicer, how they're doing some of their meetings outside. If it's meetings where you really just have to listen to and you don't have to do a lot of speaking, that is a great opportunity for you to pop those, earbuds in and head out for a walk for 20, 30 minutes or however long you can do. Lots of people are getting standing desks or walking pads. That's a nice little touch too. Um, hey, got kids that are into video games. We have the Just Dance, so it's one thing that I thought about. But great, creative, makes it interesting. Try it out. Get outside with kids. Get outside with your pets. I mean, go on fun adventures, scavenger hunts. We would do those a lot, especially when my son was a little bit younger. If you have young kids, 3, 4 years old, and you're like, oh, they're never going to want to walk outside longer than 5 minutes. Try these little nature scavenger hunts. It really adds that creativity and that fun aspect. And I've already mentioned the mini workouts throughout the day, but having little obstacle courses is another idea too that I think I thought of after the fact when I was doing this slide. But fun obstacle courses outside, where you can kind of set up cones and, dribble a soccer ball. You've got stuff around, I know it, and just getting outside of your, typical day-to-day routine and trying some of this stuff out. Okay, what if you don't have any equipment? So these are some really creative ideas. And I will say that we definitely tried some of these during, again, bringing back that pandemic. But we definitely tried it during the backpack one here. But it's kind of creative, right? A backpack loaded with books or water bottles just to add some extra weight, doing things like some squats or lunges, push-ups, bent over rows. Some of these, you know, I put some of these exercises on here and you might not know exactly what all of them are. I have some visuals here in just a second. Weighted walks, weighted vests are really kind of nice. That would be technically equipment, but I didn't mention it earlier and I'm seeing them all over the place. And I feel like that's kind of a cool way of adding some resistance to something. If you're already a walker, but you're having kind of a hard time grasping the resistance side of things, it's a great thing to add to those walks. Using things like filled up water bottles, using the wall, doing things like wall sits, wall push-ups. If you have a chair or a very sturdy table, you guys, sturdy chair, sturdy table. I've even used the stairs, kind of going down to my basement, doing things like those tricep dips or stepping up, doing some incline push-ups. I know some of these might feel, whoa, I'm not ready for that. That's okay. But I'm giving ideas for all fitness levels here. Anyway, you can kind of read some of the things through here, but I think it's thinking outside of the box. You don't have to be a part of a gym to get a good workout in. All right, let's look at some visuals here, some workouts to try. This one I love, okay? So this is the 7-minute workout. There's an app you can download on your phone. Maybe some of you have it, maybe some of you've tried it. Maybe some of you have it and you haven't tried it. So there's also a handout that we have that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. You can be really creative with stuff like this. I know at the Y they have workouts posted along on the wall, like little workout cards, so that if you want to, and maybe other gyms do that too. But you can kind of take some of these handouts and you can, laminate them, put them up on your wall downstairs or wherever. I'm saying downstairs because that's my area, but wherever it makes sense for you. Having them available where you see them, you might think of it a little bit more. But the 7-minute workout is rotating through these different exercises for I think about 30 seconds or so. They're timed. And there's lots of ones on here that you guys probably are like, okay, I could actually do that. If there's ones on here that you're like, I can't do that, then repeat another one. If you don't want to do a push-up, then do double sets of crunches, right? But the idea is that you're switching your exercise consistently. It's 7 minutes in length, so it's not a long amount of time. And it's really working a lot of full body here. So this would be a great cardio slash using your own body weight for resistance. I think it's a great combination. So if you've never tried it, download the app, look at the handout that I sent over, which gives a little bit of instructions, and try it out. I also have this low impact workout, which I think is fun too. So the idea behind this is you see there's labeled exercises here. And again, there's a handout that comes with a lot more information than what I've put on this slide. So you guys will get access to that. So you would do each exercise for 1 minute and taking a break in between for as how long as you need to. It says 15 seconds, but take as long as you need. But some of these are, non-weighted. You can use weights or not use weights. You know your own body when it comes to that. But lots of different moves. And again, a great introduction to using your own body weight, using a little bit of weights if you have them. And again, some full body moves here. So get your heart rate going, but you're also doing some of that resistance as well. I wanted to add some of the dietitians here at Lifestyle, some of our favorite at-home resources, just because it is important to understand that you don't have to, again, be a part of a gym, pay a lot of money to do exercise at home. There's some YouTube channels there on the left. I love Yoga with Adrienne. If you're a patient of mine, you've probably heard me talk about her. You've probably heard me talk about her on some of these webinars. But for someone who is on the screen on a TV as a yoga instructor, she's just got a great personality. I love doing hers. She's got, 15 minutes to 40 minutes. So lots of shorter ones to look at. So definitely check her out. If you need some motivation for doing some more stretching, she's definitely more of kind of the stretching, slow-paced yoga moves. Fitness Blender is a really good one. I've used this for many years, lots of different HIIT and weights. And when I say HIIT, they give modifications up on the screen, really kind of cool. And again, don't be nervous about trying things that maybe you don't think you can do. You can always take it at your own pace with any of these exercises. And then I have some apps on the side here too. So, that you can download. And I believe all of these are free apps that you can use just to get some, workout ideas. I wanted to, of course, I'm going to talk about making a plan. I really think that is one thing that is going to help people stay on track and stay consistent with their exercise. This is just a very brief example. You can insert lots of different, this is what we do, right? Like we would help you figure out what a good plan would be. But doing some strength training, yoga, we've got some walks, we've got a little bit of that full body cardio. We have some fun aspects with a nature walk. Maybe we're doing something kind of fun and sports related. One thing that we like to go do on the weekends, our kids are both into soccer, so we might find a soccer field and do some, kicking around, kicking the balls. We go up to our elementary school a lot, and the kids will ride the bikes, and my husband and I will walk. It's really just about saying, hey, how can we make this movement work for us? But let's kind of have a plan around it too. And then having some of that light mobility work, just some stretching, maybe we're resting. You do not have to do strict hardcore movement here every single day. But having kind of that idea of moving your body most days a week, I think is a good one. All right, so let's remember here, we want to start with small changes. I talked about that at the very beginning of the year. I think it's really important to understand you don't have to just go from doing nothing to all of a sudden feeling so overwhelmed and pressured to do more than you know or think you can do. Focus on the fun part, not the perfection part. I think that's something that people struggle with, and we really do try to help people work through that. So when I mean perfection, like for example, try to focus on, hey, I'm going out and I'm walking and I'm doing something with the family. Maybe I'm not getting my heart rate up as high as I need it to be for those 20 minutes, but I'm having fun and that means a lot. And I'm moving my body and that means a lot. Celebrate progress in a variety of ways, not just weight loss. Are you noticing yourself getting stronger? Do you notice that you can do things without pain, like you maybe you had pain before? Are you able to walk a little bit further before you get really winded? These are big deals. These are showing signs that your body is making improvements, regardless of what that scale looks like. Mix long-term goals with short-term enjoyment. We need to have little, mini markers along the way. If there's something really big you're trying to achieve, have something to kind of mark it throughout your progress to that longer goal. And always listen to your body. Your body is going to be telling you what it needs. You just have to be in tune with it. So be careful and listen. And yeah, okay. Of course, I wanted to save a little bit of time for some nutrition here. I wanted to talk about really quickly before I get into the smoothie here, benefits of refueling with a post-workout smoothie. So maybe some of you guys already do this, a protein shake or a smoothie. I feel like this time of year, I'm really enjoying some of the frozen fruit, making things cold, even smoothie bowls, which I've demoed on a past webinar. And so like Carol mentioned at the beginning, scroll through some of those, the archived webinars and look at some of the recipes that I've done in the past. I know that there's a smoothie bowl in there somewhere, but a post-workout shaker smoothie with protein specifically will help with getting the protein that your muscles need to help repair these little micro tears that happen. It kind of sounds scary, but every time you lift a weight, no matter how big or small, just your body is having these little micro tears, which is good because that's how lean muscle mass is the start of it, forming and growing. But we need to work on the repair of our body after we exercise. It's really, really important. So when we have glycogen stores, which is stored carbohydrate that help give us fuel during workouts. We use those during our exercise. Our body's very strategic. And so we kind of save up carbs and we use them when we need them, especially during cardio. So we need protein, we need carbs, and fruits and vegetables with those liquids are a great way to help with the hydration. So those are kind of the things that I'm focusing in on today with the smoothie that I'm making. And hey, if you don't really, people are like, do I have to do a protein shake? Do I have to do a smoothie? No, you don't have to do that at all. Sometimes people just enjoy them or it's easy. So it just feels like it's a great way to dump like that protein in. Maybe you just don't feel right after you exercise feeling like you want to eat a big meal that has 20 to 30 grams protein in it. So it's a great way to kind of fuel quickly after you exercise. But sometimes people are exercising right before they eat, or yeah, right before a meal. So if exercising close to mealtime, your next meal is certainly going to do. Just aim for balance, having a good amount of protein. And I'm giving some examples here of grams, but you guys, this is very individualized. I do typically recommend at least 20 to 25 grams of protein after you're exercising, especially if you're doing any kind of weight training. But these are things to talk through in sessions. I'm just kind of giving you some general ideas. But having protein, animal or plant-based sources will do just fine. Fiber from those fruits and vegetables, some healthy fats is always a bonus, which you can add to your smoothie. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Healthy fats like those avocados, those nuts, olive oil. And again, dietitians are great at helping you piece all of this together. And it's kind of what we do, right? So that's something that we would do in sessions with you guys as we kind of learn more about what your eating habits are and your exercises. Thank you guys. Okay, we are going to get into making this smoothie, which is going to be pretty quick. So it won't take too long to whip this thing up, but I want to explain it first. So this is not a specific recipe that I pulled off the internet. It's just what I do. And so you have so much wiggle room and flexibility with what you add or don't add to a smoothie. I kind of mentioned some of the things that I want to see in a smoothie because of all the, that post-fuel, post-exercise benefits, but I'm using some unsweetened almond milk. Now, you might want regular milk, you might want water. I mean, that's fine. If you want a little added electrolytes, coconut water can be really great. Sometimes I'll do a half and half. So I'll do half a cup of coconut water and then half a cup of unsweetened almond milk. So I'll do that sometimes. I'm not doing that today. I always have some protein powder in there. Today I'm using Orgain, which is a vanilla, and that's what I usually go for. You can use any kind of powder you like. There's unflavored, there's other flavors if you prefer. I love using some frozen fruit. I like the consistency of frozen fruit. Sometimes people just don't want a bunch of frozen fruit in there, so you don't have to freeze it. I'm using I'm actually using around some mixed berries instead of just strawberries. So I'm going to throw that in as I'm looking at my recipe here. I ended up doing some mixed berries. I have a bunch of frozen mixed berries from Costco. So I'm going to use those. I have half of a frozen banana. I always recommend chopping up a bunch of bananas, putting, a serving into little bags, and you just quickly bring it out and it's easy. And then I'm going to use a handful of fresh spinach. You see the nutrition facts there. So we've got 23 grams of protein, 37 grams of carb, which is great because we want to kind of fuel and replenish those glycogen stores, 9 grams of fiber, which is fantastic. And we have 8 grams of fat. You could certainly add more to this smoothie if you wanted to. You could add additional fat from things like nut butters, chia seeds, hemp seeds, avocado. I'm not doing that because sometimes it does enhance the calorie level of it. And for this particular purpose of refueling, I'm really focusing more on the protein, the fiber, and the carbs than I am the fat. But if you wanted to add more calories to have it sustain you longer, I would add in that fat serving of maybe 50 to 100 calories. So sometimes people are just trying to figure out how to get these in without adding a lot of calories, and it's really based on what your needs are. So again, this is why you need personal sessions to kind of talk through some of that. Okay, we are going to get into making this smoothie. I have some references here, but I've also linked references throughout my slides, so you can kind of click on those and it'll pull you to information from that slide that I use the information for. All right, guys. Okay, so today I am using a Ninja blender. I've used it a couple of times on this, on these webinars, I'm pretty sure. And I am going to pretty much just dump all those ingredients into my blender, and we're going to blend it up and it'll be ready to go. So that's how quick it is. And like I mentioned, the things that kind of make this process quicker is when you have things measured out and you keep it simple. If you're trying to have 15 different things into your smoothie, it's maybe going to deter you from doing it a lot. So if you are going to do that, then having them kind of pre-measured out and easy to grab is key. Okay. All right. So I'm going to dip this down and start adding some things in. So we've got our frozen berries. So I'm going to add that in. We have some banana. I'm going to go ahead and pour in my 8 ounces of unsweetened almond milk. I am using I'm using the Orgain. I like the vanilla, like I mentioned. There's other protein brands out there. That is something that we talk about a lot with people. But this is the one that I love. And so this is the one that I use most of the time. So I'm going to do 2 scoops, which is 1 serving of the protein powder. Oops. Just pump that in. Just a handful of spinach here that I'm going to throw in. All right, guys. It's so delicious and pretty. You can't even tell there's spinach in there. Really, you can't. Um, so tasty and lots of nutrients, really easy. You guys thought it was fast. Uh, Great, especially in the summer months, right after exercise, especially if you're going outdoors, just as that hydration component, that's something that's really important to consider. So good. So good. I could not have a sip. I could not have a sip. You can get the fun straws or not. I don't have a fun straw with me right now, but so tasty. Cheers. Questions?
See, there are just a few.
Okay.
One is there a difference between a dietitian and a nutritionalist?
So a nutritionist and a dietitian are kind of, there are 2 different credentials, okay? And so when we go to school, so when you're looking for a registered dietitian, you should see 2 things behind their name to know that they went to school to be a dietitian. They did the internship postgraduate, after graduating, but they should see a registered dietitian and a licensed dietitian slash nutritionist. There are certain titles and certificates and things like that that people can get these days, but dietitian and nutritionist go pretty much hand in hand. Some of the others that you might hear are like health coach. I'm trying to blank. There's some other titles, I'm sure, but yeah, yep. But you would want to see kind of this RD slash LDN. Those are the credentials. Then you know that they went to school and they did the internship, and it's really just that formal way of being a dietitian.
Okay, great. Um, and I am getting ready to answer this one, but somebody did ask about any thoughts on vitamins like creatine to assist in muscle maintenance and strength.
Mm-hmm.
And you did a whole session on that back in
Yeah.
August of 2023. So if our audience can go back to our website and look at the vitamins and mineral supplementation, you did such a great job explaining about all supplements and what their uses are and what their purpose and advantage are.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I'll
but
touch on the creatine really fast if you would
okay,
like.
please do.
Yeah. I did not add that into the smoothie today, but I do love it for active individuals. Okay. So if you're
Okay.
doing any type of strength training, and you're active, okay, this is something that is fantastic. There's a lot of research behind it. And it's great, 3 to 5 grams. Usually it's a powder. You can add it right in, and it helps with um, your definitely your performance, your muscle growth. But I think a lot of times we have kind of the stigma over the word creatine. No, it's great for brain health. There's so much research out there now these days on the benefits of creatine, especially for postmenopausal women who are lifting weights. I highly recommend it. And yeah, muscle recovery. There's a lot of reasons why we should be taking creatine. And also will mention, side note, if you start taking it and you notice that and you're checking in with your weight, you will see an uptick in your weight because of the way that it draws water into your muscles. That is a water fluctuation. That is not you gaining true weight. So anyway, I know I can't talk too much on that. I feel like that could be in a whole presentation. But yeah, going back for the other vitamins and stuff, looking at the presentation I did in 2023, that's a great idea.
Okay, good. So, anyway, this was just wonderful, Katie. You did a great job. And for everyone here, our next event is June 10th, and it's going to focus on foods to keep you hydrated. Getting enough water in your day is just absolutely vital for so many reasons. So be sure to register and learn more about just how important proper hydration is. And just as a final note, I am retiring in June. So Sierra Smith will be coordinating the next wellness webinar. So look forward to hearing from her soon. Thank y'all for coming today.
All right. Thank you guys. Enjoy the
Uh-huh.
rest of the day. Happy Memorial Day.